Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice is the non-BS, unapologetic podcast for women who decided to be moms on their own timeline. No waiting around. We're deep in the messy, joyful, and sometimes downright exhausting parts of doing it all by choice. From fertility struggles and 3 a.m. feedings to those awkward, "who's my dad?" talks. This is your tribe. Real chaos, real community, and no permission needed. Welcome back to Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice. I'm your host, Laura. As women in tech, we hear the word burnout quite a bit, but feeling it, that's a completely different story. The pressure to constantly perform and keep up in a fast-moving industry can easily take its toll. Many of us find ourselves asking, is this the path that I want to be on? Today's guest chose to listen to that inner voice. After years in tech, Beth made the decision to pivot toward what she was truly passionate about. Along the way, she also chose single motherhood by choice and packed up her life and her daughter to pursue word schooling abroad. And she's in the process of launching her own company. Today's conversation isn't just about becoming a single mom by choice. It's about listening to that inner voice and having the courage to follow where it leads you. Let's welcome Beth. Welcome to Choosing Chaos. It has been a very long time coming. I am sorry to
It
have to keep
has.
moving this, but we're finally here.
Well, I had to as well, so it's all good.
It is a pleasure. You discussed a little bit about this, so let's just dive in there. You have had some big plans happening in your life, word schooling abroad and launching a remote business. Tell me about what inspired this chapter of your life.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have been thinking about world schooling for several years, and unschooling or other alternative schools since my daughter was in preschool. She's currently 7, so yeah, several years. And I'd heard about it even before then. The seed had been planted. And then I was considering it a couple years ago when I was RIF'd, reduction in force. It's like a layoff, but based
Mm.
on like the business not doing well at the time. And I was just too burnt out to execute it, to make it happen. But it was on my mind. It was like, okay, well, world schooling would be cheaper if I can do it in a lower cost of living area. And what an adventure. I've always wanted to, for my own purposes, learn another language, be immersed to truly learn it, because I've always hit a wall with it. And I've wanted to have my daughter have that opportunity to build language skills, like second language skills, since she was small. And so it all just felt like it was something I would eventually want to try to pursue. And then I had gone through my burnout healing recovery journey for a couple of years. It took a while. And then decided this summer I was going to start a business because I've become disillusioned enough by my old career in the tech industry, and I didn't want to go back. And so I thought, well, why not bet on myself, choose me, and start a business doing some coaching. That's the current plan, coaching for overwhelmed moms in tech who really need to reconnect with their own voice, inner voice, and goals and values and things like that. So I was going to do that this summer, and a week before school was out, my landlord drops the news that even though he had already offered to extend the lease for another year after, like, for the fifth or sixth year, that he could no longer extend the offer.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Can you be out by the end of July? What?
That gives you like
And
8 weeks.
not even because school stopped later where we were living. Um, and thankfully, I negotiated the end of August. He
Yeah.
was open to that, which was small comfort. And so I'm left with like a week before my child is with me full time for a few weeks. We're
Hmm.
traveling for an early summer vacation, um, and I got to decide what the heck to do with our whole life. and start working on it. But I didn't have any income at the time. I'm living off of savings. And so I thought about moving a little closer to friends in the area we were in, which sounded nice. I love community. Community is super important to me. Having that connection for my daughter, really important as well. But I didn't, there are other parts of living in that area that I don't love so much. And it just wasn't very, it didn't feel right. Like my
Yeah.
gut was saying, do you really want to? It would be better ish, but you're going to move to a smaller place. You're going to be spending the same amount of money. You're still going to be like just burning through your savings for what? And I went back to this idea, and I had a few other ideas that were sort of like in the middle of the spectrum, but this idea of why don't we go world schooling through Central, South America, Latin America for a year. It will be roughly back in the napkin half the price of living in where we were in the States.
Oh, for sure.
And we'll have an adventure. And if we can slow travel a month or two or some 1 to 3 months in a place, like we can establish some stability enough for me to have some time to work on my business, not have the stress of having to like make a ton to start,
Just something to live. Yeah.
but enough to live so I'm, not using up all my reserves and slowly, getting to that. And then once it's established, then I can start, building out the business more. But it gives
Right.
me a much longer runway and gives us all of these other things that I've wanted, the adventure of traveling, the exposure and immersion in culture and language,
Hmm.
and that connection time with my daughter. She's been talking
Yeah.
about how she was bored at school. I'm like, yeah, I know you're ahead in a lot of the core subjects,
Right.
and I have both a respect for the public school system and a desire for everyone to be educated and have opportunities like that, and a dislike for the way it's implemented.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't meet all the students' needs. It may get everyone up to the same level, but it doesn't meet each kid where they are. And it doesn't give them the sense of agency and self-directed learning about the things they're interested in. And so
Hmm.
this gives us a lot more flexibility to do that, and for me to encourage that and support that with her.
Yeah. And you got out of the United States.
Bonus. Don't don't think it didn't cross my mind, but it was not the driving force. It was a
No.
bonus, I think.
Oh man. So let's go to the beginning of your little journey here. You worked in tech, a woman in tech. I'm
Yes.
also a woman in tech. Outside of this, my day job, I am a consultant for a firm in the user experience space. And
Ah,
so,
yes.
what did you do previously,
What did
if
I
you don't
do?
mind me asking?
Yeah. So I was basically the head of our user research.
Oh my gosh, no big deal.
I mean, it was me. It was all me. So, like, I was director, but,
Yeah.
it was me. But I was partnered very closely with the director of design. So, we were doing some of the strategic stuff together and strategizing even about the broader design or UX team.
Career coaching is an amazing place to go. I actually could connect you with somebody who is in the exact same industry who used to be a user researcher. She does the same thing. She left to open her own career coaching business.
Huh. Yeah, I think my slant on coaching is less career specific and more how do we listen to our inner voice to align our lives as a whole with our values and cut out the stuff that we don't care about.
Right.
We don't need to live the script that we've been handed.
Hmm.
We need to learn how to listen to our hearts,
Yeah, which is
to
hard.
figure out what do we value and then map our lives to that and see what's not
Hmm.
aligned at all and be like, all right, I know everyone says that this is really important, and so everyone around me shows me that's what we're doing, but
Hmm.
like I don't care about that.
Right.
I'm not going to do it, and I now have given myself permission not to do it.
Hmm.
And I think
Exactly.
as single moms by choice, single parents by choice, we have already learned to buck that script,
Listen to that inner
to
voice.
listen to the inner voice and say, you know what? The world says I need a partner, but I don't.
No.
I
Mm-mm.
don't. It's hard. The world isn't set up for us that way, but we're making it. We're figuring it out, and we're I don't know, writing our own script. We're carving our own path.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
true.
and I think there's a lot of inspiration to draw from all of these single moms I'm connected with,
Yeah.
and that path.
Exactly. Your daughter is how old? Tell us a little bit about her.
She is 7,
Oh my
and oh
gosh.
gosh, is I don't know. She's just she's bright. She's cheerful. She loves traveling. We went to New York to visit some friends, and I pre-kid loved New York. I would take like a week-long visit or once or twice a year for several years before I had her, and just binge on Broadway, visit some friends, go be there, just experience and soak up the city. I mean, I was a tourist, yes, but I love it. And pre-kid, I considered, like, would I move there from the Bay Area where I'd lived most of my adult life?
Yeah.
And yeah, so to hear her one of the days, I was like, just sort of asking her, how do you like New York? And she's like, I love it. Maybe we can move here after we travel. Heart
Aw.
sings. I don't know if it's quite right for us, me as a parent, her as a kid, but maybe
Mhm.
like it opens up that as a possibility that she loves it, and made me
Yeah.
feel very more confident even on going on this trip to that she was excited and interested and taking to a lot of like hubbub and travel and difference and change. Yeah, yeah.
Especially the differences between the world that you're in now, exploring the different cultures, and then, I mean, New York, it's a big city to immerse yourself in. A lot of cultures, a lot happening. It's such a switch, right? Because I feel like where you're at now is probably very zen. There's not all that stress. You're also outside of the United States again. And then to come back into
Yes,
it to New York of all places would be such a shift.
that would be. Right now we're in a city that's about, I think, about 1 million people metro area.
Okay.
So it's not tiny, but it does feel it is a laid back city. And so it's actually like much more compact because from the pandemic, we had moved from the Bay Area to North Carolina, and we were
Oh,
outside.
nice.
We were like on the edge of the suburbs in the Research Triangle area. So we lived in a house in the woods, which was great for the pandemic, but not my taste at all. I like cities. And so now we're able to walk to things. We're near the central area of the city, and we've just been here maybe 5 days or so. So we're still getting used to it, but
Mm.
it's definitely like compact. All the houses are like connected. It's an old colonial city, but it's also very livable, I think. So
Sounds
yeah,
delightful, honestly.
so all of it is a big shift for her. She doesn't remember much of the Bay Area.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
okay to like teach them the shifts, right? Always adapting to a different area, a different way of life. Changes happen all throughout our life, and it's amazing that you're teaching her that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she's generally enthusiastic about it. She's had some transition challenges, but, I expected that to happen.
Yeah. It's not
Yeah.
easy to transition throughout the different changes in life.
Yeah, so I guess more about her. She loves to dance and sing. She loves to make new friends when she's out. She's like, I'd say she's probably an ambivert like I am. Like she needs to be around people and have friends, and will very much interact with people some of the time, but also needs some downtime, needs some quiet, is sometimes a little more reserved or shy.
Her little
Yeah.
space to recharge. I get that.
But she loves to read. She loves Minecraft, and what else is she into these days? She got a little extra access to YouTube for a while. I'm like, oh no, how do I
Take that
rein
back.
this in a little bit?
Yeah.
But yeah, and like she's like pulling from that. She's pulling out all these memes. I'm like, oh dear, we've got the 6'7" thing going on. We've
Oh
got
gosh, I don't even know what that is.
it's just I remember, I don't know, like, back when we were like, "What's up? What's
Yeah.
up?" Same deal. It's just a thing to say and
Yeah.
you know latch on to when somebody else says it.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know, she loves to draw and talk with her friends. She's got her bestie that we're still trying to keep in touch with, all sorts of things. She
She
loves
sounds like a
fashion.
true gem.
Yeah, oh, my heart. It's wonderful.
So your heart, I mean, speaks volumes for sure. How did you know back 7 years ago that you wanted to go on this journey?
Ooh, yeah. So this was me nine-ish, maybe 10 years ago at this point. No, about 9 years ago, working with someone to listen to my inner voice
Hmm.
personally because it was very logic driven, as many adults in our society are.
Yeah.
We're taught to be, we're conditioned to be. And I knew that. And so we were working on how do I listen to that inner voice, and I was finding some success with that. I'm driving along in the car one day, and I'd been thinking about like, what do I do around these five different aspects of my life that are like these big sort of things. I was heavily into as a hobby, singing opera. What do I want to do around singing and performing? What do I want to do with that? What do I want to do around dating or relationships? Because I wasn't having the success that I,
Yeah.
idealized, I think, with that.
Right.
What do I do with my career? Because most of my career, I've been like, I kind of fell into tech. I was good at it. It was good for now. It got me other things I wanted, which were to live my life and be in the Bay Area. But what do I really want to do with my life? I never really had a good connection to that. So, what do I want to do about that? What do I want to do about where I want to live? I was anticipating that ageism and sexism in the tech industry would eventually statistically, make my salary sort of plateau.
Hmm.
And I was, I guess around my 40th birthday, in that range at the time, just sort of like looking ahead, going, okay, I don't know if I'll be able to afford the Bay Area for my entire life. So what do I do about that? Maybe I should start thinking about it now. And then what do I want to do about kids?
Yeah.
Because I'd come to the conclusion that I did want kids, but was waiting for a relationship, as many of us do. Put the cart before the horse, right? So we'd been talking about this, the person I was working with, and working on listening to that inner voice. I'm driving in the car one day, had the radio off, going somewhere I knew where to go, so I wasn't paying super close attention. I was just zoning out in the car, doing the thing, not having to concentrate too much. And I hear my inner voice go, "You want a child." And can I curse?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We curse here.
I said, "Fuck, that's the hard path." But it was so clear. I knew from that moment that it wasn't do I, don't I, it's how do I. But
Right.
it gave me a direction, and then my logic brain could come in and do what it does best and figure out the path. But it was clear. That path was so crystal clear at that moment. And it took me, yeah, that was the like November, December before my 40th birthday. So I had like booked a visit with an RE in town in January, I think, and was just waiting for that to come around, getting through the holidays. And then I broke my arm. I was like, well, I guess I'm dealing with that for a little bit. I was on disability for several months.
Man.
And then I think it was that summer or fall that I finally got started trying. I tried several medicated IUIs, which I think I I think I did two that didn't work, a third that showed I was pregnant but was ectopic. I had
Mm.
to essentially, at the time I didn't realize it was an abortion, but have an abortion because I didn't realize that abortion wasn't just when you choose not to have the baby that's coming, but like it
Yeah.
has a much broader definition than the propaganda taught
Right.
us.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Mhm.
I didn't realize that. And I've been pro-abortion for a very long time. I had no idea. I basically had the medicated abortion, and it didn't work fast enough. I was having a lot of pain, so I ended up having to have a tube removed. And so then I had to wait because I'd had the medication, and they don't know how long it's active. They don't want it to target a viable pregnancy. To wait a little bit. I tried again, but the eggs were growing on the side with the tube missing, so
Mhm.
IUI wasn't going to work, and I decided to switch to IVF. And the first round took, and now I have my daughter from that. It
Wow.
took about, I think, 2 full years from the moment that I realized I was going to go down this path to actually getting pregnant with her, and then
That's a
plus
long time.
gestation. Yeah, and I
How
know
how
people
did
who took even longer.
I know that this journey is very hard emotionally, as we talked about,
Yeah.
it's very hard. But going through the ups and downs of this can really weigh on us in one way or another. So how did you manage to take care of yourself and keep yourself calm through everything that you had been through?
Yeah, I think it helped that I had some natural breaks in
Yeah.
there, right? Like I decided, and then I had to wait to get to an appointment with the RE. Then I broke my arm, and then I had to wait for the next RE because I didn't like the first one.
Mm.
And then we got started, and it was a few months in a row, like 3-ish months in a row of trying and knowing that it doesn't always happen the first time.
Right.
And then the ectopic. And then I knew I just had to wait. And so I just, you know, what else could I do in those waiting periods? And then I had a busy summer, the summer before I actually got pregnant. And so I just was taking a break and doing a lot of fun things that I knew I wanted to do. And then we started up again in the fall with the IVF, with the one, I think, IUI and then the IVF.
Do you think
And
that
it
the
worked.
failed IUIs may have been contributed to age or potential sperm donor or just the way that it is? It's
I
sometimes
think it's
science.
just the way that it is. I think it's science. Because with the IVF, I ended up getting 12 to 15 viable viable eggs, and then less, basically the percentages that they
Just
expected
keeps
to
dropping.
drop at the age I was. It pretty well mapped to that, and I ended up with 7 embryos. We transferred two, and one of them took. One of them stuck.
Did
It all
testing on them?
matched. I did not. I did
Okay.
not. It wasn't, I mean, I think it became even more common a year or two after, but I didn't want to spend the extra expense. When I had evidence that I
Mm,
could get pregnant, it just landed in the wrong spot. So I
right.
think that ectopic pregnancy gave me hope because it showed potential.
Yeah, anything is possible. Now tell me about your pregnancy journey. How was that?
Let's see, let me remember back to that time. Because I'd had the ectopic pregnancy, I was a little reluctant to like really believe it was going to stick for the first several months. I was, hesitating, like
Mhm.
excited, but also it didn't necessarily feel real, and I
Yeah.
wasn't letting myself get my hopes up too high at that point, knowing too many people who had gone on a very long journey
Yeah.
with that. And I was keeping it quiet for a while. I told a few people. My family knew, some of my close friends who I'd confided in that I was trying knew about it. And then I decided I wanted to do a kind of a big announcement, but sharing with my inner circles before I like spread it out to Facebook
Yeah.
at large. And so I had a friend take some pregnancy photos of me out by the
Oh.
beach. and got them printed up into a card that I had sent in the mail. And I have just some wonderful reactions to that of like a
Oh.
friend who sent me a photo going with the card held in his hand. It was so great. That was one of my college friends, like disbelief. Yeah, that was so good.
So it was
Yeah,
very well
yeah.
received, it sounds like.
I was prepared for ignorant responses,
Mm-hmm.
potentially ignorant responses. And I didn't really get any. I got one person, oh gosh, I don't even remember what he said, but he basically like was not even thinking about the possibility of me having done this on purpose on my own. And it was an innocent enough remark that I just, gave the truth of it. And I've always been very open with it in the hopes that I could inspire others to realize this was a path, because a
Nice.
friend of mine was going through this journey after having divorced and had her first child with that ex. She was like, I'm never doing that again. He has too much control over my life because we share this daughter, but I want more kids. And so she's had two more children since on her own,
Oh.
and was talking to me about it as she was preparing for that first on her own. And it really helped me realize that it was a possibility. And when I had that realization in the car, I was able to go, okay, now I know enough about it. She's given me that foundation. I
Mm-hmm.
can move forward from here instead of starting from scratch. So I try to like make that be just to destigmatize it
Mm-hmm.
and to be really open about it and be open to sharing my journey and answering questions to anyone who's curious about it. It's and being very open about it with my daughter as well, so that
Mm-hmm.
she can field those questions too, and feel very comfortable in her own story. I'm at that point of like, okay, how much should I be just like being really forward with this with people now that she is a little older and more impacted with it? There hasn't been much tension around that to date,
Yeah.
so I think it's okay. I'm just mindful of it.
I think that two parts to that is one, I think it just takes that one person to come across our desks, so to speak, that has been on this journey before, that sort of pushes us to do this, right? And not necessarily that they're pushing us to do it, but we know in the back of our heads we're kind of capable of it. It's on the fence. We may or may not consider, or some of us don't really know what single mom by choice is. But then we meet that person and we're like, you know what? I could do this. I am fully capable of jumping in because there's this sea of women who have done it before me. And what a great community to be a part of. Second to that is how do you set your daughter up with the story that is hers and being able to share that with others? How have you taught her to just like be
Yeah,
confident in who she is and how
yeah.
she came to be?
Yeah. So I took the advice of many of the single moms by choice around me. And oh my gosh, thank God for those communities online in the Bay Area. There's a really strong community that, at least pre-COVID, was meeting up with some regularity and super helpful, super generous with sharing and helping each other out, passing on not just wisdom, but also baby gear and all sorts of stuff. And so I really I learned so much from just observing, but also being part of that community, and I'm so grateful to them. And fortunately, I have like three other friends from my pre-kid circles who have also gone down this path, which has been wonderful. One who was inspired by me. So the yeah, yeah, I know. So what you were saying, I'm like, yeah, that happened. My friend from I don't know 20 years prior decided she saw me doing it, and she's like, I want to be a mom. I guess she's doing it. I can do it too. And she told me so, and I was so honored, especially in those hard, because I think she decided and told me when my daughter was an infant still. So all the
Oh.
hard days. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, those newborn days. Yeah, they're hard.
Yeah, yeah. But also love struck, right?
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, so I basically just started practicing when she was young and getting really comfortable with the story myself. And starting with what family structures, that families look like a lot of different things, reading kids books that are topical on the subject, um, coming up with and practicing the language about we're a mom kid family, and not trying to position it not as a lack of another parent or a dad, because so many other kids will come and say, what, you don't have a dad? What does that mean? And giving her language around some of the biology around it, talking about DNA as instruction, the parts that you need in order to make a baby, an egg from a body, sperm from another body, a uterus to grow the baby in. And there are some wonderful books. I especially love, oh gosh, I'm going to forget the author. They're amazing. I think it's What Makes a Baby. But it's very all purpose. It works for any type of family, any type of pregnancy, any type of configuration of the genetics. Is it like a sperm and an egg and a uterus that are all from the same two people, or is it a donor, egg donor, embryo donor? Doesn't matter. It's like, is there love? There are people who are waiting for you. Very gender inclusive. It's a great book. And so we would read that a lot. And when she asks questions about it, I, would be straightforward and do my best to not stigmatize at all and to just be really confident in how I answered. And all that practice up front when she was too young to truly understand helped me get to that point where I could talk about it with ease and figure out how to talk about it in simpler, more kid-friendly terms to
Yeah.
start. And then as she's grown, she'll keep asking, and I, add on where it makes sense.
Right.
When she
Where,
asks me, why do kids say this? When I say I don't have a dad, I can answer and help her build her own vocabulary for it.
do you still have a strong village of men in her life as role models for her to look up to? Or what does that look like for her?
A complicated question. So I have in my family, right, I have my dad and two brothers. And so that is, sort of a stable faction. And then among our friends who we had built up a community with in North Carolina, there were other men in her life through that, yes. But because we left California, where I had lived most of my adult life during the pandemic, there was a big break in those connections, even for me. And when we were first in North Carolina, we were isolated because of the pandemic. And so it was kind of me and her most of the time, and then her with my brother and sister-in-law in the early days, where my sister-in-law was watching her and their kids who were in like junior high and high school at the start of the pandemic. Yeah,
That'll change throughout her life. It'll look very
yeah.
different. I mean, my son has his grandpa and uncle now, and then friends' husbands. But what will that look like in 5, 10 years? Who knows? I don't know what
Yeah.
that will look like. My dad is getting
Yeah.
older. He won't be around for forever. An older nephew is there, but he's probably going to go off to college or something. So it'll change. It will
Yeah.
always change for them. Being able to confidently tell her story no matter what, though, is setting her up for success. And you're also teaching her that women are extremely independent and we don't need a man. So
Yep.
there's that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And I think about it, like even her friends are mixed in their gender. Her friends from school, her best friend from kindergarten was a boy. She's got a really close kid boy friend who she's staying in contact with. And then two of her closest friends from school are twin sets, and they're boy girl twin sets. So she's friends with both, but more friends with one of the girls and one of the boys from the two sets.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you're a big influencer for women who are considering this journey or in this journey. When you look back on everything from your consideration and listening to that inner voice to where you're at today, what feels the most defining about your journey? And secondary to that, what would you share with the women who are considering this, or maybe in the rough times of being a single mom by choice because they're in those newborn days or toddler phase?
Yeah. Ooh. Um, Defining for me intersects with sort of my coaching business idea, which is it's the doctor heal thyself kind of thing, where like I really have been on this journey to listen to that inner voice, to live a life off script, to live a life that is my path, that is suited to me, that is connecting with others, that is connecting closely with my daughter. Because what I've discovered is that one of my top values is connection. And then also openness, exploration, that sort of thing as well. I think that's it. It's around really finding what are your values? What is driving you? What are your priorities in what you want to do with this life, how you want to be in this life, what's important to you, what's driving you to want to be an SMC in the first place, or a parent in the first place, and then really getting specific about, okay, what are the things that can meet those needs? Is it having a kid on my own? Do I really value more having a kid that is a shared journey with someone else? In which case, maybe I'm okay if I don't have the child, if I haven't found the person to share that journey with. But you really have to listen to that inner voice, and be brave. Be brave once you know what you want.
That inner voice can teach us a lot.
And it's so hard to listen. We're taught to not.
To ignore
It's
it.
such a
Hmm.
yeah. Oh, women's intuition, pff,
Mm,
right?
right.
And so we tamp it down, especially in the tech industry, right? But I think generally among women in the U.S., women probably worldwide, and especially women who are more in the cognitive spaces of like white collar jobs. I don't think it's exclusive to us, but I think, in order to succeed there, we need to play by the rules of, being ambitious and doing things logically and I think we all have to find our path there, which is part of that journey of how do we listen.
Hmm. As we near the end of our recording, how do you personally choose chaos these days? And what does that phrase mean to you in this life that you're living
Ooh.
in? This whirlwind of a life,
Oh
I should
my
say.
gosh. Yes. I mean, my life is not, I mean, I have basically jumped into guaranteed chaos in some ways, right? Like, certainly by having a child on my own, but now having jumped out of a life where I had built up some community, which was a really hard thing to choose, to leave that community, because it is part of when moving in that early part of the pandemic, I left my 20 plus year community that I built up in the Bay Area, and it really isolated me and sent me that plus perimenopause and the political structure of the time and our chaos of the time and COVID, all just uprooted stuff so much for me that all contributed to my burnout. It was a hard choice to leave that. So I chose to jump away from something that I knew was grounding for me, community that it was built and like solid, and go after this thing that I knew I also wanted.
Hmm.
And knowing, having confidence that I'd come through my burnout journey on the other side and still have those connections to my
Yeah,
friends and
right.
still have the connections to my friends in California and building new connections. And yeah, so like basically we are traveling in countries where I'm mediocre at best at the language, where I know my child's going to have some challenges with the transition and not having friends immediately and not having a grasp of the language or the culture and not really understanding the implications of full-time travel, even
Yep.
as we're doing slower travel a couple of months at a time in a place. So yeah, like it was guaranteed chaos basically.
We grow
But
the
having
most through the challenging parts of our life, right?
and knowing that I had the capacity to handle it, that I've rebuilt that capacity. And part of that is being so connected to my values.
Hmm.
I have that strength, that inner strength, because I'm connected to my inner wisdom, my inner voice. All
Right.
of that combined gave me the confidence to step into chaos.
And chaos it is. That's for sure. Beth, it has been truly a pleasure speaking to you. And once you get your business up
Likewise.
and running, I would love to have you come back so that we can also promote your business and talk more about how you can support women as well in the tech industry and or facing burnout.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. This was wonderful. It
Thank
feeds
you.
my soul to be able to share my journey in the hopes that it helps other people because I
Yes.
learned so much from others. I love giving back in this way. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. We will chat soon, Beth.
Yeah, it was wonderful to talk to you too.
Beth's story is a beautiful reminder that our lives don't have to follow a single script. We're kind of breaking the script already by choosing solo motherhood on our own terms. So many of us, especially women in tech, feel the pressure to keep pushing along, to keep performing at a certain level, and to stay on the path we've already built, even when that path starts to feel that pull for something just a little bit different. Whether it's stepping away from burnout after years in a demanding industry, redefining what success looks like for your career, choosing motherhood on your own damn terms, or packing up your life and taking a leap into an entirely new chapter. Sometimes the hardest part is really just taking that first step and or giving yourself the permission to listen to that quiet inner voice telling us that something really needs to change. For some of us, that inner voice might be asking for something really small. For others, it might be pointing towards a completely different path in life, one that feels uncertain, but also deeply aligned with who we are and what we want our lives to look like. And as Beth showed us today, listening to that inner voice doesn't change who you are and it doesn't change your entire life. It can shape the experiences that you create for your children, the opportunities and the doors that you open for yourself, and the new paths that you're brave enough to explore. If today's conversation sparks something in you, whether that's curiosity about single motherhood by choice, the courage to rethink your career, or simply the reminder to pause and check in with yourself, we hope that you carry that with you because the next chapter in your journey might just look a little bit different. It might start the same way that Beth's did. Simply just listen to that voice. Before you go, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing this space with us. If choosing chaos has become even a small part of your journey, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss more stories of courage, choice, and connection, and the chaotic, hilarious realities of motherhood. Thank you for trusting in us, and thank you for trusting us with your hopes and your hearts, and for embracing both the beauty and the chaos all at the same time. We will see you next time.